Hello and welcome back to G-Senjou no Maou. And we're heading right in back to it. The weather had been rather unstable recently. Sometimes it would snow from nightfall straight through to dawn. Yet, as time pushed forward, the asphalt pavement dried, leaving Tsubaki nothing but inconsistent, blurred traces of white by the time she awaked. Tsubaki ignored her racing heart and stood as still as a street lamp, gazing at the familiar home her family was about to leave. The ants patrolled in squadrons near her feet. A black cloud of them gathered around a moth-broken wing and moved it to the colony in the garden. Perhaps the decaying innocence within Tsubaki's heart also served as valuable food in preparation for the upcoming spring. The overwhelming kidnapping, her responsibility to her family, and her feelings for Kyosuke might all be guiding her to a nest that must suited her true self. Hiroaki walked out the door. He closed in on Tsubaki like a puppy.
じゃあ出発?
Wait, is that Tsubaki or is this him? Wait. No. Oh, there it is.
じゃあ出発?
Alright, let's go. He made a fist, bent down, and then jumped with the excitement. He looked up at Tsubaki with a bright floral smile. Her brother's every move was dear to her. Okay, so it was actually him. I guess, but I think... what? She'll take Hiroaki to kindergarten, then head to school. This was her daily routine. If Hiroaki begged for a snack halfway, she would stop by a convenience store. If he wanted to play, she'd comply as long as time allowed. He was a child, after all. As his big sister, it's only natural for her to indulge him. But today was different. Tsubaki wouldn't go to school, but will rather wait for Kyosuke to contact her. Depending on the schedule Kyosuke set out for her, she might not even go to pick up Hiroaki. She continued to hold onto her brother's hand. His chubby little arms were quite soft under her fingers.
姉ちゃんの手プニプニしてるよね.
Your hands are so soft, sis!
太ってるっていうの?
Are you saying I'm fat? Her tone suddenly grew strict.
ヒロアキだってプクプクしてるよ. お菓子の食べ過ぎじゃない?
You're soft too, Hiroaki. Are you eating too many snacks?
お姉ちゃんと一緒だね. 僕お父さんにツバキにそっくりだって言われるよ.
Cool! They are just like your hands. That always says I'm just like you.
そっくり.
Just like me? Her brother's innocent smile made Tsubaki a touch uneasy. It was as if she'd seen that exact smile elsewhere. As if she'd seen it a sickening number of times. Within the polished glass of the mirror, every day of her life. Why? What was it about her brother that bothered her?
行くよ.
Let's go. As a twisted emotion gathered in her chest and ran down to her gut, she noticed that she was dripping with sweat. Kyosuke must be an early riser. His call came a few short moments after 7 o'clock. After glancing at her brother as he humped beside her, she took the cell phone in her hand.
早いね, Azai-kun.
You are up early, Adai-kun. Does that inconvenience you? An inquisitional tone came from the other end of the line. Though Kyosuke's tone changed often, there was a critical difference between this and the boy she'd become accustomed to at school. Tsubaki responded as if intimidated by his mannerisms.
大丈夫だよ。今から行けばいい？
Not at all. Would now be a good time to come over? Are you outside right now?
うん。
Huh? Yeah. Shall I infer that this means you are escorting a sibling to kindergarten? Tsubaki panicked when he pinpointed the situation right away. Come quickly.
今すぐ？
Right now? Yes! Right now. An alarm rang in Tsubaki's heart. She hadn't experienced such anxiety since her last meeting with Maou. She had neither the courage nor even the intent to defy him.
わかった。急いで行くから待ってて。
I understand. Come right away. Tsubaki's answer seemed to have satisfied Kyosuke. He thanked her and hung up.
お姉ちゃん、何？
Oni-chan, what's wrong? Kids are really good at reading people's feelings, she thought. The words Tsubaki wanted to say were stuck in her throat. Still, Tsubaki could only relax if she let the desires she'd only recently formed guide her. It's nothing strange for a girl her age to be happier with friends than family.
ひろあき、一人で行ける？
Hiroaki, can you go by yourself? Her brother had been kidnapped once. But in the previous episode she said then she doesn't care anymore. So that's why I think she can do this now.
行けるよね。昨日、一人で大丈夫だって言ってたもんね。
You can, right? You said you could do it by yourself yesterday. After learning of her brother's kidnapping, Tsubaki had burst into tears. She could do nothing but cry and shout. It's all because I was late picking him up.
お姉ちゃん、ちょっと大事な用事があるから、ここでバイバイだよ。
Your sister has something really important to do right now, so we have to say bye-bye here. Burying the perplexed emotions deep in her heart, she left her old self behind. Was it really such a cruel thing to do, abandoning her brother to help the man she loves work? While it did come with the added cost of skipping school, it was nothing as severe as breaking the law, nor was it an act atrocious enough to earn the contempt of others. It was merely taking a risk. Tsubaki, who always worried about such trivial things, suddenly noticed how insignificant she was. She couldn't help getting angry.
じゃあね。帰りは迎えに来るから。
I'm leaving now. I'll pick you up later. How can you be so sure about that? You don't know how long you have to work after you arrive at Kyosuke, so... Her brother knew nothing about Tsubaki's feelings and tilted his head.
終わるのお昼だよ。お姉ちゃん学校でしょ？
My school ends at noon today, so won't you still be at your school, Oni-chan? Why are they sometimes ending the sentence on Oni-chan? One-chan. I think Oni-chan means brother, and One-chan means sister. I really should have looked that up. But anyway, Tsubaki broke out into a sweat once more after being stared into by Hiroaki's innocent pupils.
お姉ちゃんも終わるのお昼だから。
Oni-chan's school ends at noon today. Noon 2 today, sorry. Being put on the spot, she lied without thinking. In the end, Tsubaki still promised to pick up her brother, but this may have been purely a function of remorse or guilt. And you still don't know if you have worked longer than 5 hours or not.
じゃあこの公園で待ってるね。缶蹴りして遊ぼう。
Alright, I'll be waiting here. Play kick the can with me, okay?
うん。
Sure. She averted her eyes. Afterward, she silently made her way to Kyosuke's house. The crowded train to Central Boulevard gave her the impression that everyone was watching her, leaving her unsettled all the while. All the dots. Transition. I led Tsubaki to my room. When I met her at the station, she bore a grim, shadowed, alien expression. Wow! So, you really showed up.
お邪魔します。
Thanks for inviting me. Is this your first time here?
2度目だよ。
No, it's my second time. Ah, that's right. Are you feeling alright? I apologize for calling you over all of a sudden. Tsubaki weakly shook her head, indicating there was no problem. Is something troubling you?
なんで？
Huh? What do you mean? It's written all over your face. I laughed. Your relationship with your family hasn't been smooth lately, huh?
やっぱりわかる？
Is it that obvious? She looked embarrassed, like a child caught red-handed. Don't you think you've been a bit too easy on them in the past?
構いすぎたっていうこと？
Are you saying I care too much? I know it's difficult to manage a big family, but isn't it enough to just do what needs to be done? You brought your brother to kindergarten before you arrived here, didn't you? Huh? What? You didn't? Tsubaki only replied with a quiet nod. She seems to have allocated my directions as the top priority. She washed here after leaving her brother.
学園もサボっちゃったね。
I didn't go to school either. I mean, school starts at 8, so it would be hard not to be at school. I guess. At that time, at least. Do you feel bad about it? You'll get used to it soon enough.
慣れていいものなのかな？
Yeah, but is that something that someone should really get used to? Well, about school, let me put this in a thing that is maybe understandable. If you are a freaking genius, if you know already at everything, more or less, well, you basically can't know everything, but if you know already everything school related, and you can do all the things that the teachers ask at a moment's notice, and you can score really high grades without even attending most of the classes, then I guess you can just do something else besides school. That's what I think, at least. Unfortunately, I was never a kid like that, so I had to attend school to get decent grades at least. But anyway, I mean, as I see Kyosuke, he is a prodigy child, a really intelligent, and even is so intelligent that he formed a second identity within himself. So he's double the smart, which is a really weird thing to say. But anyway, whether it's a problem or not is something a person should generally decide for oneself. But we don't have the time to waste over trivial things like that, so long as she's going to be following my directions. The old Tsubaki, that straight-laced and honest girl, would be of questionable use to me. I was hoping for a relationship on par with those between cult leaders and their followers. No matter how ridiculous and inhumane the leader's commands become, the followers will always take them as a gospel from God and obey. Does Tsubaki have the potential to become the zealous believer that I wish for? Hey, Tsubaki, aren't you interested in the reason I'm working like this? Tsubaki snapped her head in surprise after suddenly being asked a question. I decided to blow my cover and reveal everything. I might be living a luxurious life right now, but there was a time when I lived in absolute poverty.
本当？
Huh? Really? She sighed as her eyes betrayed her shock. I remember reading a random QE in anthropology that knowing about someone's past leads you to sympathize with them. I need to close the gap between Tsubaki and me. It started around the beginning of middle school. Prior to my enrollment there, I had a happy family. After a certain occurrence, though, everything began to change.
事件
An occurrence? I know I'm the one who brought it up and everything, but please don't ask about that. It's a source of many a headache. What? It's the source of many a headache.
わかった。ごめんね。
I understand. Sorry. I slowly refreshed my memories. Even if I told you, you might not believe me. I recalled my past. I slowly opened the closed book to page 1. Every time I look back, the same scenery appears before my eyes. Samejima Kyosuke, an anxious child, alone in a dark room. Wait, Samejima Kyosuke? This is your real name? You are not actually Ada Kyosuke, but Samejima Kyosuke? Or... Yes! He actually is called Samejima Kyosuke? It was a nameless village in Hokkaido. My mom and I lived in a shack adjacent to the cattle fodder and hay storage of a small farm. When winter reached our home, the temperatures dropped below 0. Our windows weren't double layered. The flooring reeked of cow feces, and centipedes fought spiders over hairs, and a few scattered rice grains. To my surprise, cockroaches managed to survive there too, so far up north.
どうしてそんな生活を
Why did you live a life like that? My father destroyed my home.
お父さん
Your father? Yes, you may have heard me say Papa before, but when I do so, I'm referring to my foster father. He adopted me sometime later due to certain circumstances. In any case, my real father was already gone by the time of this story. He wasn't missing or dead or anything, but he owed the mafia a lot of money. Thus, my mom and I had to constantly keep moving. And in the end, we settled down in what was essentially a literal pigsty. A distant relative lent us the place. His name was Kanu, or something like that. Apparently it carries some sort of discriminatory nuance in that region, but I'm not sure. Kanu gave us a place to stay when we had nowhere else to go, but he was a real son of a bitch, with a criminal record to prove it. He might have been doing some day labor, but he would sometimes harass my mom by flaunting his earnings. My mom had a few random jobs too, but the village provided few employment opportunities for outsiders. As a result, we could only obey Kanu's every whim. The biggest problem was kerosene. The price for kerosene in farming villages is unbelievably high, and when it's cold enough to make your nose run, an empty oil can is practically a death sentence. Though Mom often made fuel for the heater her top priority, the lack of resources grew more dire each day. We lit that old heater once a day, and that would guarantee us an hour or two of warmth. My mother and I always took that opportunity to wrap ourselves up in sheets and talk about anything and everything. If only we had more money. That's what I always said. I begged for a job as a paper delivery boy, but Mom didn't permit it. She was worried that my body couldn't withstand the cold. She said that walking in the snowy mountains to deliver newspapers would be too harsh for a child. Yet still, our fuel stockpiles were waning by the day. I think a snowstorm forced the whole village into a shortage. Only 1 hour was left of the heartwarming 2 hours each day. I talked to all the students at my middle school. It was a small school, no more than 50 kids in total. I pleaded with them, every last one. To share what they could. In the end, they passed me off as a beggar and provided nothing. They said, "You must be wasting all the time. That's why you don't have enough." They didn't share a drop. We never wasted anything, but then I thought that maybe everyone else was in the same situation as we were. But we were patiently enduring it. I returned home, feeling a bit bad about what I had done. But after thinking about it, it did seem a bit strange. Our fuel was being used up faster than we were consuming it. I even began to suspect my own mother of using the heater in my absence. Shortly thereafter, I met Keno in front of our shack. He became enraged when he saw me and started yelling desperately. "Who do you think is letting you live here?" The bastard was swinging a jar of kerosene back and forth. "I think he stole it from us." I questioned him. He was as muscular as a bear, and his face was always red, as if he were constantly intoxicated with alcohol and other substances. Upon hearing our argument, the people living nearby gathered round. Kenu was a cunning man. He was good at keeping up facades and hiding his true self. He pretended to be a saint, helping some outside woman and her young son make ends meet. Thus, in the end, we were the ones in the wrong. Sometime later, I mentioned it to a school teacher. However, from that one conversation, I finally understood how the people in the village viewed my mother and I. Working at a bar on the outskirts of the village seemed to have earned Mom a bad reputation. Come on, it was just a bar. It's not like she was a prostitute. Still, the people in the village used the Hokkaido farming village dialect to humiliate my mom as if she were one. I used this chance and begged my mother to leave the village with me. But she was too exhausted. She's a kind woman, but she was just too exhausted. And there was nowhere to go, so there was really nothing we could have done. And then, one day, our heater suddenly began having enough oil to burn through the whole night. Kenu's attitude changed too. He bought stuff for me, trying to win me over. He stopped calling me a brat, and sometimes... A brat, not bread like the food you're eating, but brat! I don't know, how can I pronounce this differently? A brat or bread. Whatever. Sometimes the three of us had dinner together. As a kid, I never wondered why a hypocrite like Kenu suddenly decided to help us. And then I saw why. I saw the sight of a woman lying hog-tied screaming. In my very home, no less. Maybe I shouldn't have taken the day off due to illness. The thick smell of alcohol was nearly suffocating. A 1-liter beer bottle laid upturned on the floor. The beer of a man had just finished drinking and didn't even try to hide his naked lower body. He just stared at me. I still remember those foul yellow eyes that faced like rock, those hard pulsating muscles. Kenu's strong body, trained by years of manual labor, scared me to death. I was overwhelmed. He'd beat me that night until I thought my stomach would fly out. He kicked me until my back was breaking. Mom protected me, crying non-stop. The son of a bitch just screamed a few curses at her and yanked her by the hair. He approached her, his breath saturated with the cloying scent of alcohol, all the while staring at me with glaring eyes. "Kyosuke, you can't take this, can you? Why can't you take this? Can you take this? It's all your fault. It's all because you don't have money." Who's saying this? Is this Kenu? Is this the mother? I think it's... Wait, what? I'm confused now. What did he discover? I actually missed something. Wait a minute. My very home, maybe I saw the sight of a woman hog-tied screaming. I have the feeling the mother got some kind of prostitution in exchange. Oh, shit. Wait. Okay, you don't know. Okay. The fucker never stopped talking. He reminded us that he was the real owner of our filthy pigsty. Get out if you don't like it, you animals! He proudly stated that he was free to treat his livestock as he pleased. If you animals don't want to accept this, you can get to work. So Kyosuke, can you feed your mother? Can you rent a house? Can you go to school? Can you make a living? Mom bowed down and apologized. She said it was our fault. She pretended to be strong, told me she was okay, and then demanded that I apologize immediately to that son of a bitch. I obeyed my mother. All the dots. Tsubaki's shoulder shivered like she was struck by lightning as she stood silent. That was a long story. What do you think? Tsubaki frowned and mumbled.
ひどい人だなって。お母さんがとても不憫で。
What a bad person. Your poor mother. Okay, so yeah, it is what I thought initially what it was. So she basically raped his mother, more or less, in exchange for food and living things. Huh. Wow. I think I just wasted my breath. That's not what I mean. That asshole was trash, and my mother was unfortunate. Yes, true enough, but what I want to say is, Tsubaki. I paused for a moment before continuing. Back then, if I had only a fraction of the money I have now.
いや、でも、浅井くんは中学生だったんでしょ?
But weren't you only a middle school student back then? Take a good look at Central Boulevard. There are people who are obviously elementary school students claiming to be high school students in order to sell accessories or tickets, right?
それは、ここは大きな町だから。
Yeah, but this is a big city. Anyway, I didn't have any money. My luck might be rotten, but what do you expect? No goddess of luck would shine on someone who couldn't pay the fee. Suddenly, Tsubaki seemed to have thought of something and said,
うちは大丈夫かな?
My family should be okay, right? I think their situation's quite severe. Have you noticed your dad being sort of grim lately?
全然楽観してるのかな?
No, not at all. Isn't he kind of optimistic? I don't know, but just in case, I'd like you to take what I said to heart.
私が家族を支えなきゃ。みんな私に甘えてるところあるから。
Yeah, I should try to support my family. Everyone's counting on me. I'll compensate you for your work if you decide to help me. It won't be much, but I think you find the pay is a lot better than a part-time job. I smiled and the tension left Tsubaki's face.
頑張るよ。浅井くんの話聞いて、ちょっと家族とももう一度向き合ってみる。
I do my best. After hearing your story, I feel that I should evaluate my family again. What do you mean?
ほとんどひろあきのことなんだけどね。
I mean,
あの子ってどう思う？
Hiroaki, what do you think of that kid? I think he's spoiled compared to the average child.
その通りだよ。私が甘やかしてたんだと思う。
That's about right. I think I'm spoiling him too. You could be doing him a disservice, you know? He'll only be worse off for it as an adult.
保育園の先生にも同じようなこと言われたよ。
That's what the teachers from his kindergarten say too. Then I go ahead and tell you the rest. To be honest, I've seen some things I didn't really approve of in your dealings with him. I crossed my arms in front of my chest and continued. Why don't you scold him? Why don't you scold? Sorry, I'm totally getting out of character and I don't know why. I mean, I talk way too normally for him. Why don't you scold him? I think it would be for the best if you got seriously angry once in a while.
最近はちょっと叱るようにしてるんだよ。
I scolded him for the first time recently. The time when he went out of the house at night without permission? I lightly sighed. That was more like Tsubaki screaming hysterically than a proper scolding. Wouldn't it be better if you put more feeling into it?
そうかな。どうすればいい？
Really? How would I do that? Are you seriously asking that?
私、あんまり誰かに怒ったことないから、それを相手にどう伝えていいかわからなくて。
I've never been mad at anyone, so I don't know how to express it. Isn't it okay to just let your feelings guide you? Take out all your anger, and even a child would understand how you feel.
うん。
Wait, what? Are you suggesting that she should beat her little brother? No, this can't be right. You're not suggesting that. I think that's why it's not written here yet. Tsubaki's pupils were overcome by a strange glow.
やってみるよ。
I'll try it. She gave me a straight stare.
今度また勝手に外に出歩いてたら、その時は。
If he leaves by himself again, then I'll... That sentence seemed to be to herself as much as to me. We've chatted for a long time now.
じゃあ何からすればいいのかな？
Right, and so what should I do? Do you know how to use a computer?
インターネットくらいなら。
I can surf the internet. Good, then have a look at the data over there first. I pointed at a pile of paper on the table. It's a list of buildings managed by the Soa Alliance. Facility management is broad and complicated, but the Ardai Corporation's capabilities are widely recognized.
これ全部500枚くらいあるよ。
These? All of them? Aren't there around 500 of them? What you're doing is very simple. Go through the list and pull out any files that include supplementary facilities.
付帯設備？
Supplementary facilities? For example, swimming pools, parking lots, or sports grounds. After you pick them out, input their names and phone numbers into the computer.
結構かかりそうだね。
What do you expect? It's a job! That sounds really time-consuming. You should be done by dusk.
夕方。
She's not taking up her brother. What did I tell you? Dusk. It seems that she had something to say, but stopped for some reason. What? Did you have any prior engagements?
平気だよ。
No, it shouldn't be a problem. I'll be in the room right there. Just call me if you have any questions. Tsubaki started organizing the documents right away. All the dots. Hey, Tsubaki, your cell phone is ringing. I took a break and checked up on Tsubaki during the afternoon. Tsubaki froze, staring intently at the cell phone.
うちからだ。どうしよう。
It's from home! What should I do? What do you mean, what should you do? Pick it up! You should be at school now, right?
それもそっか。何慌ててるんだろうね、私。
Oh, yeah, why am I panicking? Because you said your brother you would be done by noon, and I think it's noon, or it was already noon. The ringing stopped as we spoke, and Hiroaki probably told your parents that you told him that your school ends at noon.
あ、
Are you gonna call them back?
いいよ。どうせなんでもない用事だと思う。お父さんったら、私が携帯持ったもんだから、意味なく電話かけてくるの。
Nah, it's probably nothing important anyway. Dad is always making meaningless phone calls now that I bought a cell phone. Why are you not just turning it off then? I mean, then you wouldn't get bothered anymore. Tsubaki returned to her work once more. She seems to be doing a good job. The name of the buildings are already listed on the computer monitor. You are in good shape.
そう？私、こういう単純作業向いてるのかも。
Really? I might be suitable for easy jobs like this. You really helped me out. I'm glad I found you, Tsubaki.
本当？
Really? She glanced at me happily through the corner of her eye.
ねえ、浅井くん。
Hey, Adai-kun? Yes?
ひろあきをね、昼に迎えに行くって言っちゃったのね。
I told Hiroaki I'd pick him up in the afternoon. Ah.
公園まで迎えに行くことになってるんだけどね。さすがに帰るよね。私が来なかったら。
I promised to meet him at the park. He'll make it home by himself, right? If I don't show up? Well, normally he would.
だよね。
Yeah. But are you sure that's okay? I pressed her. It's no fun if she just leaves in the middle of work. But Tsubaki is already the kind of person I want her to be.
ちゃんと終わらせてから帰るよ。ひろあきは一人でも帰れるからね。
I'll head out when I get the work done. Hiroaki can get home on his own just fine.
私、ちゃんと働いて、ちょっとでもうちにお金入れたい。その方が、なんていうのかな。家族のためだよ。
I want to work hard and make money for my family. That would be a better use of my time, even for Hiroaki. Oh.
こう言うとあれだけど、結局、お金があれば、うちを出て行かなくても済んだわけじゃない？ヒロアキが誘拐された時、人にお金を借りずに済んだんだよ。
This might sound a little bit, you know, but if we had money, we wouldn't have had to leave our home, right? And we wouldn't have had to borrow money when Hiroaki was kidnapped. Now you get what I was saying earlier. Tsubaki smiled.
私、浅井くんに出会ってよかったな。
I am so glad I met you, Adai-kun. Why bring that up now?
だって、浅井くんって私にないものをたくさん持ってるんだもの。
Well, you have a lot of qualities that I lack. Tsubaki has plenty that I lack too. Or rather, she's composed entirely of qualities I lack. Still, in the end, she will become a person like me. Oh god, this is a horrible thought. A suspicious, cheating, self-protective schemer. What? A suspicious, cheating, self-protective schemer. That's the type of person? These traits are neither just nor evil. Everyone acts this way. I was filled with a sense of satisfaction, having confirmed that my way of life was not mistaken. Well, let's work for a bit longer. Yeah. After that, Tsubaki pushed her natural hardworking tendencies to 120%. Until the moment she clocked out, her hands worked swiftly, as if her perplexed heart had already been blown away by the wind. And I'm going to end this episode right here. I hope you enjoyed this little backstory of his. Leave a like if you did, and I will hopefully see you in the next episode. Stay tuned.